Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the Smite Pro League. I'm Tom Battinger. That's Anatoly. We're going to be getting into some action. European-style action, actually.
A little bit of a mixture in week number 3, starting off with Europe, transitioning later towards North America. That's how we usually kick things off on Monday.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've got Dignitas versus SK, and then later on we'll see Space Station Gaming take on Splice. It'll half and half there like an Arnold Palmer. But today, let's talk big picture and look at how the year is going to go overall. Essentially, we start here out in the summer split. The Summerland coming up will crown a victor for this individual part of the season. And then we'll have a pre for All-Stars. And then after that, totally, we go right into the fall split.
All things aligned for that SWC placement round to follow the SWC, which takes a couple of weeks before the traditional HRX in the 1st January.
Yeah, it certainly does there. And then Smite World Championship is going to be a boatload of fun, 16th through the 18th. You can see it right there. We're going to hang out with Smite. We're going to hang out with Paladins, both PC and console. Even shout-outs to the console wars, so you got a little bit of everything there. But the bigger deal there is that we're in the heart of downtown Atlanta, Georgia World Congress Center. That's where all the big boys play, and we're going to be at the big boy table this time around as well. We're going to hang out with all the other games, all the other fans, and so it's just going to be a bigger party than we've ever had before. I'm really excited.
Don't miss out on your opportunity to get your tickets now on hi-rezexpo.com and get a chance to meet not only them but also us and hang out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Get us a drink, please.
Yeah, that'll happen. That's a big deal.
It's always a pleasure just drinking with the fans, honestly, at the hotel lobbies. Every single Worlds, there's always multiple stories to have.
Yeah, no, real talk. One of my favorite things is being able to hang out with everybody and be a part of everything. And one of my favorite stories is that I met Taco at Worlds, just like, Smite fan to, I was casting, right? And just Smite fan, me and Cred hung out for like the whole night. It was awesome. And now look where she is now. So
the cosplayer, Santan's WD, was it?
Yeah.
His mother comes with him to like help him out with the cosplay. It's always a blast to see, not only just the players, but the fans and the cosplayers. It's a whole family and community.
Yeah, it's always a great time. And I got more stories that I just don't have time to tell because we've got a whole broadcast chock full of summertime fun, not just this week, but throughout the entirety of the summer. You can see there Monday through Friday, we got things going on. Biggest deal ever. Esports Weekly.
I was waiting for the drop. The hottest. You're like about to drop your mixtape on that one.
Oh, you don't even know. But if I were to drop my mixtape anywhere, it would be on Esports Weekly. That's where we collect some of the best moments of the week before, some of the worst moments as well. Don't worry, we have a lot of fun in addition to getting serious. Taco, Aggro, Hindu sit up here, give out their picks. We make fun of them when they're wrong, and then me and Finch fight, like with fists. It's actually a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in there on Mondays. And then all throughout the rest of the week, we've got action, whether it's minor league, pro league, or even the console style. So certainly Smite all across the board, things you don't want to miss out on.
Definitely a lot of variety between the global series, minor league. It's just a lot of different metas.
No. Variety plays in the
solo
pro
lane or Dignitas.
Variety plays in the pro league, and he plays for Team Dignitas, one of the squads that's doing very well here in the European standings. So as we look towards Team Dignitas, where the black and yellow are, they're sitting right up there on top, and no variety there because we're used to seeing them on top.
Consistently on top where it matters online, but they need to find a way to transition it all in. Only losing to Energy thus far.
Yep.
As we begin week number 3. Can't say the same for SK Gaming, however, losing all 3 sets against Mouse, Obey, Rival, but in their best of 3s, at least taking one game in each of their sets.
Well, right now, SK Gaming have a 0 in the win column. Dignitas have a 0 in the middle lane. And Zero's going to see if he can beat up SK Gaming today.
I like that. I like that transition, especially considering it's against Lawbster. A lot of rivalry between those two players.
Long time. Once upon a time, Lawbster played mid lane for Zero's jungle. That was kind of fun.
Wow.
Remember
Bringing
that?
the really old school.
The Vulcan jungle.
Vaguely remember that one.
The Vulcan jungle. That was Zero's claim to fame. It's been a little bit since then, but I'm sure if he needed to bring out the the Vungle, he could one more time.
Well, with all the older players, we also have a lot of newer players, specifically out of SK's gaming. The solo laner Ducky has been showing his stuff a little bit. You're right too, Big Man Tings as well every now and then, but that's not SK gaming.
I'm gonna lift the curtain a little bit. We have an interview with Ducky, so Tully was trying to be really smooth and go into it, and it really was good. Good job.
Thanks, dude.
I messed him up though. So the sloppiest throw of all time. Ducky gave us a pregame interview, and let's watch it.
All right, I am here with Ducky, solo laner for SK Gaming. Got a big week here in front of y'all, some big boys on the other side. I know y'all are a confident bunch, but give me a little bit of a insight into how y'all's mindset is going here into this next week.
We just want to get through the early game, make as little to no mistakes as possible. Mainly Danny dying in mid-level 2 most of the games. So hopefully if we can cut that off, we should be smooth sailing mid-game into late.
And I want to ask you all, I mean, it feels like game after game, you all are right there, and maybe like one little thing kind of goes wrong and it ends up getting out of y'all's grasp. I mean, is it comforting to know that you all are that close, like sort of reassuring, or is it maybe like frustrating that you all are right there and it's like a couple times you're not able to close it out?
I mean, it's nice that we're showing improvement. Like, We're getting there, because last split, it was just loss after loss after loss. So it's nice that we're picking up some wins, here and there.
Right.
But we would like to close up a set, and it is a bit infuriating when we can't do that. And it does take a hit, but we're getting there.
Well, one of the first sets that you all are going to be going up here looks like it's up against Dignitas, and that's a tough matchup for you when you're going up against Variety. I mean, I know you've been around for a while. I mean, is there still any kind of impact when you go up against a big name like that, or you just feel as confident as ever when you go into that kind of set?
No, I think I'm used to it now. Like, when I started SPL, it was a lot like, oh no, I'm playing against this guy, what am I going to do? But I think I've learned how they each play, so I'm more confident against them, which is nice.
All right, absolutely. Well, give me some of your feedback here. What do you all feel like? I mean, I know you mentioned maybe a little bit less death there, the middle lane early on, but what do you feel like is kind of that one key if you all can get right that you feel like you can turn around? I know you said you all want to make it, through that early game cleanly. You think it really is kind of just like that, as clean as that. If you can just get that done, you all can start to see some more success.
I think it's just the grouping up stage. When we get to the team fight stage, I think that's when we really shine.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. So as long as we get to there without having as big as a deficit as we usually have in most games, because we lose a lot early, like a ton. So as long as we can cut that off and we get to the grouping up stage, the team fighting, I think that's where we can pick up some wins and hopefully force objectives a lot more.
All right, now y'all also have energy up on the docket. I know you said you're confident. You feel like you're starting to know these solo laners a little bit better. Is there any preparation to do specifically for these teams, like maybe against energy specifically, or do you all try and just prep to do your thing when you're going into these big matches?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, don't give away nothing here. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I don't want to give that away. No, we do have prep for a bunch of different teams. Like not all teams are the same. Like there's all going to be different, and there's different strats that we use against them. But I'm not sure how much I can say on that.
Oh, sure. I don't want to get you in trouble on that one, Ducky. But
yeah, I don't want to go into it.
I asked AlphaJack a little bit here about how he felt about the sustain meta. Let me get some of your thoughts on this, and especially as a solo laner, where now sometimes you got to go up against like Afros or Chang'as or whatever over there in the solo lane.
Oh, I hate healers. I hate healers. You have to play so differently going against them. Like you have to all in, otherwise they're just going to back out, heal up, then come in for the fight. So a lot of the time we tend to ban it. But there is picks that you can go to hopefully slow it down. I know NA have been picking Chang'e a fair bit in SPL. EU has been picking Odin primarily.
Right.
But healer's just difficult to deal with, so it's just a difficult meta to play.
No, I definitely get that, and we're always saying on our end that you kind of want to like all in them real fast before they can have a chance to back off and heal and then come back in. I mean, is that mindset? Are we kind of on point with that one with the mindset against these healers?
Yeah, you need to burst them down before they... Because if you have a fight, you're going to get poked, and then they're going to get poked, but they can easily just sustain back up with their Afro heal, Ra heal, Terra heal, whatever they have. Guan even now.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big pick. But then you have to back off. You can't fight them again because you're already at a disadvantage going in. So you need to win that initial engagement.
All right, well, it sounds like you all are confident here going into this next week. I know it's some big sets. I'm hoping that y'all are going to be able to pull some big matches out here, and I'm looking forward to watching you. Before you go, do you got any prediction for how these sets are going to go? You think y'all can get any 2-0s, 2-1s? You going to give me a little bit of that before you head out?
I mean, I have faith in my team. All right? We'll try our best. All right? I don't want to say, ease 2-0, because that could easily backfire on me. But we will do our best, and we're looking to win. We don't go into a game hoping to lose, so...
Absolutely. I know that y'all go into those matches confident, and we look forward to seeing you. Before I let you go here, Ducky, any shout-outs that you want to give, or maybe to any fans or your org or anything like that?
No, just thanks to SK. They've been supporting us a lot, even though we haven't been showing as many results as we'd want or hoped. So they've been supportive. Shout out to the fans who watch. We wouldn't be able to play without them. And it's great to be able to do that. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, absolutely. It's a joy watching y'all play, man. Good luck in your sets coming up. And again, thanks for sitting down with me for the interview. We'll see y'all here in these sets.
Great stuff. Always fun to hear from Ducky. Interesting stuff to hear from the SK team. I think the big takeaway was, quote, "We don't go into the game looking to lose it."
Well, it's a bit different story compared to how he started the interview, because that's his like political response. Obviously, he's not going to brag. He's not going to boast. That's not Dougie's style. He's a little too young, maybe too immature to like be that kind of guy right now. But maybe that'll ascend as his gameplay evolves. But what I took from that was when he said it's infuriating not closing these sets. 1-game victories in each 3 of their sets, but they need to find a way to actually come out with the W. The way he was kind of posing himself was very calm and collected, because infuriating is a pretty powerful word, but definitely didn't feel that he was infuriated whatsoever.
Well, he's probably infuriated in the moment, and after the fact is just kind of after the fact. Funballer, HalfDevil, Lawbster, Faeles, and Ducky are the players that make up SK Gaming. HalfDevil a little bit newer, so we just have the silhouette. Unfortunately, unable to really fill him out, but we will soon. But I think that guy, surprisingly enough, has been a very big part of what has made this SK Gaming team a little bit better. Starting off with Badger, who was probably a gamble from the get-go. Just didn't work out. And then they switched up to a guy named Who the Best that was... the team had said that he was most likely temporary, was not a replacement. HalfDevil now stepping in to fill those shoes, and it looks like SK Gaming finally are able to start to improve, which unfortunately the spring split won't be a part of that.
During the spring split for week 2, it was Badger. Week 5, it was Who the Best. Dignitas winning both of those sets at 2-0, but there needs to be some sort of turnaround if SK Gaming want to start off week number 3 with a bang to start qualifying to the LAN. Only top 2 teams from both regions are getting a chance to go.
It's going to be very tough. Team Dignitas is a squad that absolutely will bring the thunder. We'll see if they bring the pain. Game number 1 in just a moment. Arkkyl, Trix, Zyrhoes, Quvo, and Variety. I affectionately call QvoFred, one of our local artists, Migos.
I think this team is solid all across the board. It's just stacked historically. Outside of their, traditional LAN falters, whether it's the Spring Masters or the Super Regionals one, these teams just don't get shaken up much, and they always find a way to still play together at the highest of levels. Beating out rival 2-1 immediately after their LAN performance is no easy task.
Not at all. I really look at this team as just one of the best.
That's the mechanics.
That was devastating. I mean, they just lined up for him, so it looked really cool. But this team is devastating. Individual mechanics certainly there and worth talking about. And when this team does come together, when they do coalesce and become one big unit, this is a very scary team. The problem has been the consistency offline, whether it's on LAN or otherwise, and their ability to kind of stay as that unit. We'll see if that happens in game number 1. Ready, set, go.
Dignitas are usually the team that beats the teams that they're expected to beat. They only lost to Energy thus far since the first 2 weeks, and can't say the same for other teams where Energy dropping a set to Obey Alliance, Rival staggering a little bit. Dignitas, of the top 3 quote-unquote European teams, are still holding true to that status.
Well, certainly something we got to keep an eye on. Cirquette going to be banned out. The Athena, no surprise there, banned out by Team Dignitas. Athena has been dominant throughout the early parts of the summer split. Just a strong god in general. Odin, now this is interesting. A Cirquette ban and an Odin ban. Yeah. SK want to play healers.
Potentially, Ra could be the case. Lawbster likes his Ra. He likes a lot of mid-mages, but in this current meta, he might have found what he wants. But instead, Guan Yu, another traditional healer in the support role, could also be played in the solo.
Yeah, you brought up the fact many times that Guan Yu is sort of the first great Trixtank character. That's what he won his launch tournament title on, right? Season
Sun
0.
Wukong, it was a lot of that.
Right? So certainly a lot of precedent for this to find its way into the support players' hands. Giannis and Sobek going to be picked up by Team Dignitas here. Just strong, evergreen characters. Doesn't really tip their hand like SK's bans do. SK banned out 2 anti-healers, so we know they want to play some sort of healing composition. Giannis and Sobek just go, we fit everywhere.
There's a lot of healers, so why prioritize one immediately? Giannis is such a safe pick for Dignitas, whether they want to be aggressive or run away from the action, that you're covering all bases. Sobek, a flex pick, whether it's Trixtank or Variety. Variety likes to blink Sobek, so we'll see where that goes.
I love the idea of SK stripping away Trixtank's Guan Yu. Achilles going to be the selection here. Frequently banned, not necessarily 100% pick ban rate, but frequently banned. Team Dignitas will select this character, whether it's for the support role or the jungle role. 2 very different conversations, but still ambiguous enough that we don't quite know just yet. Chibalanke banned out by Team Dignitas as SK respond with an on her. And welcome to the Smite Pro League. There is a tier list, but it's all about the players.
That's true. Arkkyl loves his on her. It has such a short cooldown on the Desert Fury that it gives you that extra purification beads, in air quotes, being able to escape danger or just go straight into the heat.
That's what they're going to try to bring. We watched the replays before from Team Dignitas. You notice how many Arkkyl on her highlights there were?
A lot.
So, love the band.
Doing their homework is SK Gaming, and Hun Bats the selection for Dignitas. So having all 3 of their frontliners still up in the air where Sobek or Achilles is going to go. But this is beautiful for Dignitas because whether or not they want to be aggressive between the Achilles or Sobek, they're saving their last pick for Arkkyl, so they can evaluate if they want to go for a passive laning phase in their dual lane or a more aggressive one with the Achilles.
And don't forget, Hun Bat's one of the stronger characters that also kind of fits to that. They can flex. Hun Bats can be aggressive, defensive, or otherwise. But most importantly, we've discussed how SK Gaming have been able to find a game here, a game there without winning the set. On almost all those games, Danny Faeles is playing the Hun Bats. So taking that away from a guy who has really only proven himself on one character to be ultimately consistent, it's a very good look. That said, Faeles does get an answer back with his Mercury. Mercury's some late game prowess. Always going to look towards the healers to be late game. But the majority of what SK Gaming have crafted here is a mid-game composition at the core of it. Dignitas across the way, certainly a little bit more late game focus with the Ram and the Giannis, but I think the biggest point is how ambiguous this is. Dig can do whatever the hell they want with this draft. SK, on the other hand, are going to fight in the mid-game and then hope Faeles can bring it in the late. Who do you think winds up on top in game 1?
It's got to be Dignitas. Zyrhoes with Giannis. I'm confident in his ability to actually carry this game.
I'm looking directly at Faeles. If this Mercury can stand up on its own 2 feet, SK might start this one off with a bang. Let's get right to the action. Game number 1 on the way.
Thank you, Tom and Toley. Finch and Aggro here for Dig up against SK. And you kind of heard Ducky talking about it. You heard him talk about it on the desk. They got to punch up here on this one up against Dignitas.
Yeah.
Dignitas certainly top card, but let's see if they can get it done.
Yeah, this is definitely a test overall for SK Gaming, but I think that they can reach up to it because they've looked a lot better as of late. You can tell that they're starting to get their feet underneath them. HalfDevil starting to mesh with them pretty well. I'm excited about SK's future. It still might be too close to the present right now, though, to beat Dig.
It's a tough week for them overall, right? I think they got to play Energy a little bit later on. So if SK can find any wins in here, I think that's going to help give them some momentum because they got a tough week. And this is just kind of seeing how you stack up against the best. But who do you all think is going to win here between Dignitas and SK? Vote for us in that mixer poll.
Yeah, it's going to be this is a tough week for sure. It is for a lot of teams. There seems to be a lot of those, top-end teams playing middle of the pack or lower-end teams so far this week. And we'll see how those, which teams are going to make upsets happen because teams will make upsets happen. It's just where those are going to come. And I think that after this week in general, we'll have a much better idea of who the real contenders are in each region.
This is the halfway mark. Once we're done here, we'll be halfway through. Yeah. So we'll see if SK can find it because they keep being right there on the precipice of being able to get those sets. Maybe they can get it right here, right now as they move into game 1 between SK and Dignitas. And it is going to be that Sobek with Trixtank and Variety taking the Achilles into the Guan Yu. Maybe try and slow Ducky down before you can really rotate in and provide those heals and provide the big setup for the team. I mean, I know Guan Yu does have a heal that's up almost all the time.
Yes.
But I feel like that might even be second on the list of things Guan Yu does well. His ultimate is such a good team fighting ability.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. That heal is so good. I think I'm still listing that at number 1, but I'm going right after that. I'm going Prot Shred is the second best thing that he brings to a team fight or brings to a team, and then the ultimate. And those are all excellent opportunities. Don't get me wrong. You can give me any one of those, and I'm like, yeah, that's a character I want at certain times. Give me all 3, and I want Guan Yu just about every game.
Trixtank is moving forward, playing a little bit aggressive. Had to pay some health for this minion advantage that they have, but they're going to head right over to stripping away this purple buff. Looks like HalfDevil does want to be here and not give this one up for free with the Ghastly Breath. And that does force Dignitas off of it, so the actual big camp, the buff itself is still chilling there as Mixer Chat heavily in Dignitas' favor.
This is a risk from Dignitas' duo lane, though. Trix and Arkkyl are giving up wave pressure here to stop the enemy from doing their purple buff for free.
They're going to pop the sprint, though. They want to go all in on this. Shell comes out in response from SK Gaming to keep them standing. Still, though, the purple buff stands, so they're not going to be able to strip it away, but now they can head towards the jungle. Meanwhile, a gank from Faeles in the mid lane. Zyrhoes, though, is on the Giannis, goes right through the wall, and is able to come clear those mid harpies. Got to be careful, though. Faeles is waiting for them.
Faeles doesn't have that special delivery, though, and that's where his kill potential really comes from in the early game. Qvo has a speed buff of his own, so it means that Faeles won't be able to catch him, despite being the fastest god on the battlefield at any given time. This early game is just kind of SK holding on, it feels like. Their early game is not particularly strong in any lane. The duo lane is their best opportunity to play aggressive, and Sobek punishes aggressive duo lanes very, very well, because neither Funball nor HalfDevil can stand near the tower line with Trixtank on this Sobek overall. So other than the duo lane, I expect SK to kind of be on the back foot in most of these lanes, and if they could hold on to the mid game, the team fighting stage, you heard Ducky say it in the interview with him, that they feel really confident once you start to group up. But until then, they can have tough times.
Well, it does have the special delivery available for Variety. Is going to be using that Talu Assault and the slow very much indeed. Variety only needs to be able to create a little bit of space, though, because QvoFred is on his way. And that ends up working out. Variety is going to be able to still stand tall here in that solo lane. Blue buffs will be spawning before too long if the junglers want to try and stick around for that, but speed buffs are up as well. So that's probably the most important thing on their minds right now. They want to grab those.
Of course it is. That's what any jungler ever thinks about, is when their speed buff is coming up. But Variety's going to put some good damage on it. Faeles. Let Qvo clear the way for him, because Qvo going aggressive is dangerous. You don't want to necessarily do that with how much damage Ducky can do to you. Variety is not worried about that, though. Shoutouts to Warrior's Blessing. So I like that decision to kind of switch roles there for a moment. Let Variety be the aggressor and the damage dealer on the enemy god, and just let QvoFred be the wave clearer.
I love what this extended 2v2 does, though. This means that Dignitas are free in Trixtank and Arkkyl to play up a little bit more in this duo lane. Sometimes you got to be careful, especially with like an Unbots on the other side, or not Unbots, but a Mercury, that you can come over if you're at their tower line and punish, but they know they can be aggressive. They can wait on this perp up to spawn. They just saw both junglers for a prolonged time in solo, and they got to go grab speed. They've got time to be aggressive here in duo.
I also love this Rom-Giannis sort of combo as sprint used once more by the duo lane, this time after a successful buff invade on the purple. I love Rom and Giannis on the same side, because let's say Faeles does ult down the lane and catch Arkkyl in a weird spot. He can just press the ult, go up into the sky, and wait for the duration and allow Zyrhoes to fire off through space and time and give him an easy escape route. And that is very, very difficult to stop on whatever SK will throw at Team Dignitas. As long as Arkkyl is even close to that right side wall of the lane, he has an easy escape route potential. So that's where I'd like to see him hang out. Spend his time kind of hugging that right wall to give himself an easy out if and when Faeles ganks.
I like Faeles being here, though, because beads are down for Arkkyl. They must have been forced earlier on. Special delivery is going to push him right back into the first blood for HalfDevil through space and time. A little bit too late for the cavalry to arrive.
Well, that's the idea, except Arkkyl was only level 4, so it didn't end up working out because he couldn't buy time with use of that ultimate. And the beads being down, absolutely huge. It means that Faeles gets free reign on the CC chain. Wasn't sure if Trix was in range to pluck Faeles off of Arkkyl in that situation. That's the only way that I think Arkkyl survives or even comes close to surviving.
Ducky is going to commit the ultimate here in the solo lane to get some clear. It's now the pressure's kind of on to see if QvoFred maybe can return the favor over in the duo lane once he has his ultimate available. Does have that Fear No Evil if he does want to go say hello to HalfDevil and Funballer. As safe as you were mentioning that Arkkyl is on this ROM, I mean, so is Funballer on the mounted archery. I mean, he can get up and just ride away into the sunset, and he'll be CCing me the whole time, and gets way down the lane, creates all that distance between them, so we'll see which one of these junglers can have the bigger impact. Faeles already, though, finding a kill and getting off to a good start.
And that's where Mercury's a little bit better, because you can buy time, but Mercury doesn't, in the mid to late game, he's not going to let you have any time. It's just, you know, Sonic Boom into one-shot kill. I mean, even at this early stage, how much did that initial auto attack do to Arkkyl? Like 280 or something like that. It was just a preposterous number. And I think that's what people kind of forget about Mercury, and one of the things that makes Mercury so strong is that passive, where based on the distance that you're traveling, you get extra damage on your next auto attack. As Ducky now caught in a bad spot, man, that is perfect timing, but Qvo missed the monkey toss. He needed to land that to make sure he could teleport to Ducky's little dash. Love the play from Variety. Perfect timing between him and Qvo. Can you tell they played together for a while? But
oh, yeah.
Still doesn't end up netting Dignitas a kill.
I love that, though, from Dignitas. That's a call that requires everyone to play that perfectly for that kill to end up happening. And to Variety's credit here, he basically lands the Fatal Strike, not for the execute, but, be able to close that gap and to be able to set him up for the stun so that Qvo can come in for the Fear No Evil. And like you said, if one piece of that chain falls apart, then Ducky survives. But I love the idea from Dig, that trust that they'll be able to hit all those abilities perfectly.
They did all the hard parts right. It was the easy part that got messed up there, right?
I think there might be something to things being a little bit too easy for these pros sometimes. I don't know what it is.
They overthink
I think sometimes things can be too easy for them.
Yeah, you overthink it. You second guess yourself. Like, there's no way this is that simple, right? But in that situation, I think it really was for Qvo. Maybe just a little bit just a fraction of a second too late on the monkey toss, and ends up dropping that kill. But everything before that was a work of art, to be sure.
And that's what we heard Ducky talking about in that interview that I had with him, where they want to try and get off to a better start early. And they're starting it. When Faeles plays well, this whole SK roster looks so much different when they're able to work around him, and already off to a good start. With the assist, the kill credit did go to HalfDevil, but he's even here with QvoFred. Qvo's first gank doesn't net a kill, and Ducky still is comfortable. This gives some freedom for Faeles to try and have an impact and get them off to a good start for a change.
Oh man, the mid game for SK and late game is incredible. Between a Mercury, a Discordia, who's phenomenal in the mid to late stages, Cerberus as well brings excellent prot shred, good survivability for himself. Funball will do hunter stuff in the late game as a Hachiman. I think this is a great mid to late game draft for SK, and once they start to group as 5, then they'll really succeed just based on their picks. Now, Dignitas is a good team fighting composition in their own right, but they don't have the sustain that SK has.
Faeles at least has that ultimate charged up. Trixtank goes with the pluck. Fear No Evil comes through, but through space and time makes Zyrhoes CC immune, so he is able to drop the damage either way. Now it's Faeles who's in trouble on a bit of an island. Trixtank, though, comes out of the water immediately into the damage. HalfDevil now 2-0-0. QvoFred falls as well. Lawbster happy to finish that job off, and Zyrhoes has to fall back.
Man, I love that idea from Dignitas, but SK just play it a little bit better. I mean, they saw Faeles charging the ultimate bottom right. So what Zyrhoes does to follow up off Fear No Evil is actually channel his own ultimate to give himself CC immunity, and he just steps right through Faeles with the Sonic Boom. That's dope, but that's still damage on the Lawbster. That's still damage onto QvoFred and Trixtank. And that was just Faeles understanding that, okay, they might know this is coming, but we think this engagement is so good that it's not going to matter that Dignitas know it's coming, and that's exactly what ends up happening. Dig is ready for it, but the call is just better from SK Gaming, and that's the sort of confidence that I think this team was really lacking during the spring split, and it's encouraging to see it now in the summer.
But now SK have got to start making the transition as Team Dignitas comes down to try and look for the invade on the blue buff. Faeles has to dash away defensively. They've gotten a couple fights that have gone their way. A pick that worked out, a pick from Dig that didn't, and now they won that skirmish in mid lane. But they got to start translating that into buff invades and to control over some of these neutral objectives like oracles or mid harpies. So far, the game is still very, very close, if not a little bit in Dig's favor.
This is where Dignitas' experience, though, comes into play, is exactly what you're saying. They can lose these little skirmishes and not really care that much about it because they're willing to fight from a little bit behind or right, basically even with you, and usually do a little bit better than their opposition. But this is where drafts really ultimately end up mattering. I think Dignitas' team fight is really, really solid, but they lack sustain that SK is going to have. If Dignitas can execute onto single targets in the midst of the chaos very, very well, that sustain from Guan Yu won't matter nearly as much. But for every additional 2 seconds that a fight goes, it's going to be that much more in SK's favor.
The apple does land on a Trixtank. That's all HalfDevil needed to see. He goes in with the Stygian Torment. 3-0-1. Zyrhoes has to use through space and time to retreat in the mid lane. Faeles forced that out, I believe, with the Sonic Boom. And Zyrhoes had to retreat, had to use beads as well.
Yeah.
That's a big win for them in the mid lane.
It feels like SK has all the tempo, doesn't it? They're the ones just dictating every single fight thus far in this game. They're the ones being the aggressors. And Dignitas is just kind of holding on for the moment. But this is where I talk about it a lot on the other end of the coin. Whereas a lot of times Dignitas will be the aggressor. Let's say, on paper, the better team is being the aggressor. and then the enemy team is making the right choices and fending them off for the moment, you know, not losing too much, but ultimately ends up eventually cracking and losing the game off of it. And I often say, you know, this is the pressure, the exertion that good teams put on you. SK is doing that to Dignitas, and I wonder how long it will take for Dignitas to break, if they will, and make the wrong call. Because SK is doing so well right now that it only takes one wrong call for Dignitas to lose the game at this point.
Faeles finds Trixtank, an important kill for him, because despite being 1-1-3, he's a little bit behind QvoFred in terms of farm. So that helps out tremendously, being able to slow Trixtank down for a little while. But you're right, what good teams do is they pose to you questions all the time. That's what you're talking about, right? They force you to make tough choices, and what they really want is try and get you to make the worst choice from two bad ones. And eventually teams do. And will Dignitas do that here, or can they respond is kind of the question you're posing. And I think Dig have been asked those questions by everyone over and over again for a year and a half now, so they're ready.
And it comes down to the fact that there are not a lot of bad questions, and there are a lot of bad answers, right? Like, you have multiple different ways to pose the question, not a lot of ways to find the answer, as Variety needs to find a way out of this gank situation. No ultimate for him, but he jukes out that made you look.
Perfect.
That'll get him out of there.
Now they got to retreat. With the Zyrhoes ace in time means that Zyrhoes and the whole rest of the squad are here, and Ducky just sticks around a little bit too long, gets controlled and brought back in. They thought they had that because Ducky forced the ultimate trade in the 1v1 earlier.
Yep.
With that, and so that's why they come in for the gank, but the response from the rest of Dig, too strong, and Variety survives the 2v1.
That's just Variety making plays there in my mind. I mean, if that made you look lands from Faeles, I'm pretty sure Variety dies. That should be max rank now for Faeles, and that does a pretty substantial chunk of damage. So Variety makes a good individual play. You can make the argument that Faeles just drops the ball a bit. But this is where Qvo is getting his lead from. Faeles is spending a lot of time going for ganks thus far, and has done very successfully. I mean, he's been a part of 4 out of the 5 kills so far for SK Gaming. But Qvo spent that time just clearing creeps, and that's why you see Qvo with a pretty substantial XP lead at this point.
And this is the difference between, you know, the higher end teams and even really, really good teams that just aren't quite there yet, is what are you fighting over? You know, you got to make sure you're getting some off of it. And SK Gaming are trying to get the Gold Fury. They're bursting it very quickly, and no chance for Dignitas to respond. SK Gaming with that sharp spike up now have a bit of a gold lead for themselves.
Love that play from SK. This looks like a really, really solid team right now. I mean, they're doing just about everything right. I mean, the biggest mistake that SK has made, and it isn't even a mistake, I'm saying that kind of tongue-in-cheek, is that HalfDevil is the one with all the kills. If that's Faeles with with three kills instead of, and it's HalfDevil with a couple more assists, then that level lead isn't even there for QvoFred.
Right.
The extra gold and XP that Faeles is getting from the kills would be making up for the lack of farm that he's getting on the map. So I feel like SK is doing nearly everything right now, and that's impressive to me against a team like Dignitas, who won't necessarily give up the early game, but won't wrestle you for it either. They won't just give it up for free, but Dig isn't the team to be like, we have to win early game. This is a tenured team that has the comfort level in the late game to say, yeah, you can get a 4,000 gold lead. We'll worry about it, or we got to worry about it. But SK hasn't just it hasn't fallen in their lap. They've earned this lead thus far. It's very, very slight. But again, if you're the one posing the questions, eventually the other team will get an answer wrong, or you'll run out of questions and they'll get to win the game after that. But the way SK is going right now with this pace, they look great.
And that's why those player interviews are so important, Ryan, because SK aren't just getting smacked around and not adapting or thinking about it. They identify where their problems are, as now they grab the Pyromancer. Variety's here, not going to let that go down for free, but perfect control from Faeles. Pyro is theirs, but now can they make the retreat? Trixtank is here. Through Space and Time has been committed, but it's a 4v2. They're giving Dignitas a little bit more credit than perhaps they'd earned. Either way, though, they make it out. They grab the Pyromancer, and another win for SK.
Trix going really deep here by himself. If SK knew about this, they'd probably just commit onto the support without his ultimate, but not a lot of ward coverage will give them the information that they need to know that they can play aggressive in that spot.
But to the point I was making, SK, you're talking about how, you know, SK have kind of been falling a little bit behind Dignitas, and they've been struggling, and what they've been learning from those struggles is where their weaknesses are. In early game, this exact situation is kind of one of those areas they talked about. How do they transition to the mid to late game where they have been rather strong? Well, now they're going to be transitioning in a little bit stronger. Arkkyl is forced up into the ultimate in duo lane, gets a couple shots off. That's another bit of a win for SK, as Ducky is getting aggressed on by Variety. They have not come up with an answer yet for this Achilles.
They really haven't. And the problem is, though, for Dignitas is that this is where you need to answer Achilles. If you don't, okay, you've got a Guan Yu in the late game, and Guan is just going to do way, way more for you in the later stages than an Achilles will. So I think SK, as long as they aren't losing every buff on that side of the map, letting Variety get an early tower, that's not a big deal. Letting Variety get a slight lead over Ducky, that's fine. Ducky will be able to do more with less in the later stages. Variety needs to be there to find the early executes, to get buff invades, to put pressure on the Mercury. And he hasn't been able to do that because of the way how well Ducky's played this lane, with Faeles bringing pressure over here. Faeles has been in nearly every blue buff to make sure that that is getting secured for Ducky, and that's been huge for SK. You expect Achilles to have a lead at this point. I don't think that's a big concern right now for SK Gaming.
No, this is when Achilles, as you said, Achilles is strongest. So if they can mitigate that impact, they should be all right transitioning in. I mean, don't remember, they've got Discordia, they've got a lot of good things working, and QvoFred has the Fear No Evil HalfDevil in a whole lot of trouble, gets pulled back in through space and time to the back. Is enough to cage the dog. We'll see him in another 30 seconds. Team Dignitas now with the 5v4 power play. Want to get aggressive in mid. Lawbster in a little bit of trouble at half health after Variety blinks over the wall.
Lob has no beads, forced out by QvoFred, and this is Dignitas using that experience lead to try and get something in the mid lane, but a huge strife there, caught two.
Now comes out the golden apple. Zyrhoes avoids it, so it's going to bounce away. QvoFred though in a little bit of trouble. Funballer with the horse is going to be able to put him down. Now Ducky grouping up with Lawbster in the mid lane. Got to try and win the 2v3. There's nothing more for them, so they're going to fall back. But look at Arkkyl. He's been pushing duo lane. Got the tier 1 and pushed the minions into the tier 2. And even forced the teleport from Ducky.
Yeah, that's a nice defense, though, from SK Gaming. Lawbster makes a great play, finding the strife at the kind of weird angle to the left. You know, two people grouped up in a weird spot that don't feel like they're particularly grouped. Doesn't hurt that a big crit comes out from Faeles has made you look there off just the rage being completed. And SK take advantage, get a tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. So ultimately, they trade out a couple kills in the mid for a tier 1 on right. So in their tier 1 on left, overall about even, and that's where SK wants to be now that they're starting to group up. If they could just stay even or a little bit ahead or a little bit behind, I think that their draft is favored over Dignitas', and it's exclusively because of that Guan Yu.
Boy, that heavenly banner into Mercury Hachiman damage, that's no joke. We saw it on the Gold Fury a little bit earlier, I believe.
Yep.
The tier 1 tower kind of caught that a little bit just now. Their ability to burn structures and objectives is not a joke between Lawbster, Faeles here, and Funballer.
You want
to
see it again?
Put that to work right now on the Gold Fury already. Below a quarter HP, no time for anyone to make it in. That's crazy. And that Gold Fury is going to go over to SK Gaming, and they're already on the retreat.
I think I want to see Arkkyl use his ultimate directly in front of SK and just say, out-secure me in this spot, because that's a good test of SK. How much confidence do they have? Where are they going to stick on that?
Pose the question.
Right. If they do, then that's fine, and you give it up for free anyways, and you lose your ultimate. Who cares? You're not going to be using your ultimate anytime soon if you're Arkkyl. Or best case scenario, you force SK to reset and into a fight.
Well, Trixtank does have a lot of help coming over. Zyrhoes deletes Lawbster, HalfDevil in a little bit of trouble. Has the Stygian Torment, but there is no one to follow up on that. It's just to try and save his own life. Variety being stingy with the ultimate, and they were able to find the kill anyway. Now Funballer in a little bit of trouble as Arkkyl winning the 1v1. SK doing everything right for a little while, but now Dignitas have found the opening, and they're trying to spread their way in.
Oh, Arkkyl just got heavily baited on this left side by Funball. Faeles gets the kill, but that's credit to Funball for baiting in Arkkyl with the roll. But Dignitas punish SK on the right side, and that's what I was saying. I'm surprised Dignitas didn't try and force SK to reset Gold Fury, because Lawbster's beads were still down. I believe Faeles' may have been as well. Indeed, they were. And that was a good opportunity to fight with the Hun Bats. Instead of taking the fight by Gold Fury, SK kind of missteps and goes where they shouldn't on that right-hand side, and they get caught for it. And that's where I don't know if that play in that situation works against Rival or works against Energy, one of the other top teams in Europe, but it does work against SK in this instance, and Dignitas get a pretty decent punish out of it. If Arkkyl doesn't fall on the left, there's a decent chance Dig get a tier 2 tower in mid if Arkkyl just groups up and comes towards them. Instead, it ultimately ends up being more or less a wash between the two.
Dignitas, this is one of the many things that Dignitas are good. I was going to say this is one of those things, but Dignitas are good at a lot of stuff. That's why they're always up there at the top. But punishing you off the back of a win, really, for you, recognizing what you've expended and what your weaknesses are, and they come force fights when maybe you thought that the win was in your sails. Trixtank going to try and contest this Pyromancer. That was very, very close, but it does go the way of SK Gaming. That is the Lurking in the Waters committed. But again, you think you've got a victory. Well, we think we've got a fight. QvoFred here with the tail end of the Fear No Evil to punish Lawbster, force out the Aegis, and chase him down. Execute does not quite land, but Arkkyl has the shots. Funballer takes down Variety to make it 1-for-1 jungler for solo.
Oh, but Lawbster did his job. He got his damage off. Ducky punishes Trixtank for going in for the pluck. HalfDevil still got Shell. Qvo gonna teleport forward, looking for the damage onto Ducky, but he's still up. Somersault in, and beads forced by Qvo. Funball is still going in. Here comes Faeles.
Sonic booms. Now the Mercury's here. 4 members of Dignitas are in the ground. Faeles still plenty healthy and sending Zyrhoes running with his tail between his legs. But this is the exact play I was talking about from Dignitas. SK respond this time, but when SK commit onto the Pyromancers, some members are low. Dignitas aren't thinking they're lost. They're thinking that they've got a chance to come force a fight.
And they do that, but SK just is playing really well as a unit.
Yeah.
Like I said, someone stepped in, I don't know who that was, maybe it was HalfDevil who stepped in front of Lawbster, ate the execute, make sure that Lawbster gets his ultimate off, and that does enough damage to Variety to make sure that SK don't have to worry about him cascading ultimates together very, very quickly on that Achilles. Arkkyl just gets crushed by Funball, who had a really, really solid team fight. And Faeles, I mean, that's the dream scenario as Mercury, to just get to tear through a team fight near the later stages and just clean up 2 low health targets, get your rage stacks. That's everything you want to pick Mercury for.
And how big has HalfDevil been for this squad, this game, on this Cerberus pick as that red buff gets stolen away? He's doing a great job. Ahead of even really QvoFred in terms of damage right now, 7,000. But I mean, he's been grouping up, finding the shots, finding the stuns. It really does seem like he's gelling well with this SK squad.
It really does. He's played very, very well so far. The well-timed shell, he's been working well as a unit, and I think that SK were lacking that teamwork a lot of the time. I think that Funball and Lawbster and everyone, Lawbster gets blinked on again in the mid lane. This full-on commit to the Discordia pays off for Dignitas once more.
Now HalfDevil's been plucked right back into the stun. Stygian Torment is going to grab 2 beads, come out from Arkkyl, but HalfDevil is in a whole heap of trouble. Execute gets blocked. Zyrhoes, though, is able to find Faeles 5v3 in favor of Dignitas 5v2 as Arkkyl hits the shot he needs to. Variety now has the blink into the 2-man stun. Beads no longer available for Funballer. Tier 2 tower is still standing, but Dignitas, Gold Fury's about to spawn. Fire Giant's up. They can go grab whatever they want.
Yeah, this is Dignitas, like I said. You can ask them as many questions as you want, but eventually they will turn the tables and just be the ones in the driver's seat. And that's what happens there. It's, okay, SK does this right, does this right, does this right. That's nice. That's cool. What do you think about this? It's like Dignitas is like the doctorate, like your old uncle who's like very wise and knows everything, and SK's like the kid coming back from their first semester at college thinking they've learned everything, and you just kind of let them sit, you're sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner table, you're talking to them, and they're like, okay, great, that's cool, but what do you think about like quantum physics and this and this and this? And they're like, I haven't taken that class yet. SK's still in school, and Dignitas has graduated, and that's just the way it feels to me. Like, SK's doing so many things right, and it's just not enough yet.
And your analogy, I think, is really apt, because it's like SK comes in and there's one chapter that they know a little bit better than you because they literally just read it.
Right.
But you know the whole book.
Yes,
right? So it's
exactly.
So SK comes in, they're like a little bit more ready in this one moment, but then Dignitas able to kind of come in and put the foot down. Now they got a 2,000 gold lead, 7,000 experience different, and they've controlled all the neutral objectives on the map. Now with 3 tier 2 towers for them to come grab, Dignitas are ready to spread this lead out even further. This feels like a moment where SK need to fight on some tier 2s, Ryan.
Yes, agreed, because here's the thing. That fight goes really, really well for Dignitas because Lawbster didn't have any relics. And he did as well as he could, but you're just not surviving from a Blink, Fear No Evil point-blank range, level 20, with no beats. It's just not going to happen. Now he's got his relic, and he has Obsidian Shard, so he's going to do a lot more damage to Variety than Trixtank, which is who he's been hitting for the most part. Faeles, on the other hand, has now finished Deathbringer. That wasn't done during the last team fight. That's a huge power spike. And SK, despite losing Fire Giant, they're only down 3K. I think this is the perfect opportunity to defend a tier 2 tower and force Dig into a bad spot.
Well, they're posturing like that's exactly what they want to do. Fear No Evil's available as the pluck lands onto Ducky. They need that healing. Fear No Evil does zone everyone away. Even though HalfDevil got good initiation, there's no follow-up. Now Faeles is stuck on the bad side of a sonic boom through space and time to the back. Does plenty of work. Lawbster's in trouble. Pluck doesn't land. He gets the apple off, but the snipes are waiting, and Arkkyl takes him down. 5v2 SK Gaming. I like the idea, but just not enough.
No, you got to stagger your initiations a little bit there. Ducky gets plucked in. He's very low, so HalfDevil goes in thinking he's got to save his solo laner. But Ducky was fine. He had the heal. He had the dash. He was cool. HalfDevil gets exploded, but he's set up for Faeles, and Faeles goes in all alone. Why not tuss the frontliners that HalfDevil picked up deeper into the tier 2? Let Lawbster follow up off of it. It was a better angle for Faeles, but throw it into the bulk of your team instead of just one member, where Faeles isn't going to be doing that much damage to tanks anyways because the only penetration he has is coming from Stone Cutting Sword. The right idea, rough on the execution.
And yet again, Dignitas posed the questions to SK Gaming, and this time they didn't seem to have the answers. Another tier 2 tower comes tumbling down in the mid lane. And that was Ducky. I feel like accidentally Ducky ends up baiting the rest of the squad there. Not that Ducky baits them, but like you said, Dignitas pull him in, and they feel like, I guess we have to go in now. And QvoFred's Fear No Evil was so well timed.
Yes.
That even though a good Stygian Torment comes out from HalfDevil, who can follow up on it? Who's in position to respond to that?
No one, because Fear No Evil cuts off any help coming and any initiation coming at the same time. You drop it kind of like a wall, basically, that pushes people away from the wall. It worked very well for QvoFred. Surprise, surprise, Qvo's good at Hunbats. Who would have known?
You only need to have been watching the SPL for a little while to have picked up on that tidbit. And what I mean when I say it's like they baited him in, that's the wrong word. What I mean is that Dignitas made SK say go before they were ready.
Yes.
They made Team Dignitas, SK start that fight a little bit sooner than they were ready for. And that's why coming over to the right side before SK had their defense set was important. They came in and tried to respond, just wasn't in time. Now they can get the last tier 2 tower. Fire Giant is about to fall off in a few seconds here though, Ryan. If Dignitas want to force a Phoenix fight, it'll be on more even ground.
That being said, the ground has become less even in the gold department because of this Fire Giant. Now it's up over 10k. Experience is 15. Now this experience barely matters. Lawbster, the only carry on SK, not sitting at level 20, and he's only one level away, so it won't take him too long to get there. So XP not really relevant anymore, but gold still is. I mean, lots of blessings still up for SK Gaming. Lawbster isn't even 5 items finished. Neither is Faeles. Ducky just completed his 5th item, whereas every single person outside of Trixtank for Team Dignitas is fully slotted already. Even Zyrhoes upgraded his beats at this point, so he's got gold to spend in the bank, whereas Lawbster is still looking to finish off some of his items.
Can you think of a fight that SK's lost where Lawbster also had a good ultimate? Because I don't think there's been one that's happened in this game yet. Dignitas does such a good job of controlling Lawbster early on in the fight.
Yeah, Lawbster has had fights that SK won where he didn't get a good ultimate near the early game, where I'm thinking of one in the tier 2, or the tier 1 siege in middle, where Lawbster's ultimate didn't really make an impact, but Faeles got to make a big impact in that fight, as did Funball, as did Ducky.
Right, I think the common thread in the losing fights or that Lawbster hasn't had it didn't get a chance to have an impact.
Right.
Like almost without a doubt. That's been Dignitas' plan, has been, I feel like, making sure that he can't be comfortable in those fights.
Well, Dignitas' plan as a team composition is to divide and conquer. They've got a lot of moving their own team around with the Giannis, moving your team around with the Fear No Evil and with the Sobek, and then letting Variety find the executes, letting Zyrhoes blow you up, letting Arkkyl snipe you. If SK stays grouped as a death ball, the only thing that really messes that up is Fear No Evil. So you just have to, once that Hunbat's ultimate is down, SK can just kind of try and death ball down Dignitas, and there's not a lot that they have to worry about in those cases.
The problem is that those Fear No Evils have been almost perfect every single time.
That is a problem.
You cannot wait them out if he's going to be that excellent with them every single time. Now, Phoenix on the left-hand side is the target, and Arkkyl is shredding it. No one on SK is in position yet to defend. The Phoenix still stands, and they forced him out. Sonic Boom lands on Arkkyl, but he goes up into the air. Now, Faeles is in trouble. Fear No Evil forces everyone right back out into the waiting Team Dignitas arms. Ducky controlled by the portal, and executes right there. Variety shuts him down. Now, HalfDevil is in a little bit of trouble. Lawbster chased down the right-hand side. Aegis only lasts so long, and Zyrhoes is there to finish him off.
Variety does ultimately fall, but not before SK gets decided by Team Dignitas. A valiant effort. It's hard to walk away from this not at least a little bit impressed with how SK played the early game. And then Team Dignitas decided that they were like, nice job, guys. We're going to win now. Is that cool? And SK didn't really have an answer.
They did not. There just really wasn't much that they could do. And Dignitas did a great job, I think, in that game of pulling back off the wins from SK Gaming. SK are like, hey, we got a Gold Fury, and Dignitas like, cool, we got 2 kills and some camps.
Right.
Or we got a Pyromancer, and hey, we got a couple kills and a tower.
Yes, it's the getting objectives. I mean, we meme about Tom a lot. The stuff after the stuff is actually the most important stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's
the stuff you want.
That's the meat and potatoes of what you need as a Smite team. And SK wasn't getting that. They were getting their appetizers, they were getting their kills, everything was great. And Dignitas is like, we're just waiting for the main course. We don't want to fill up before dinner. And then they got to eat, basically, in the late game.
Well, SK Gaming continuing to look good at the start, but not quite able to finish it off. But who is your MVP there on the side of Team Dignitas? A lot of players that did things well. I mean, I'm thinking QvoFred did a great job with those ultimates. It felt like variety. They didn't have an answer to him at any point on that Achilles, so definitely some good people to pick from.
Zyrhoes, I think, had a phenomenal game as well. I believe he finished near the top, if not at the top of the player damage charts. His Giannis ultimate's the one that really turned that game around on bottom right side mid Harpies, where he just crushes Lawbster with it before the fight even starts.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was huge.
Well, that's going to do it, at least here for us. We'll let the desk break down that game number 1. It's Tom and Toli to tell us what happened.
It's not going to do it for you. You still got another game. And if SK win, then we've got a whole nother game after that. Plenty of Smite this afternoon. We're just getting started. Hopefully SK just getting started as well. For the first 25 minutes of this one, folks, everybody was dancing. It looked like SK were a great team.
SK Gaming had the objective control that they really needed between the Heavenly Banner on top of the Hachiman for Funballer, giving the 15% attack speed for this Mercury, and then that 18-minute Gold Fury to allow Faeles to really burst it down. Keep in mind, Faeles had top player damage for his team, which allowed him to receive that Discordia passive. And a level 15 Mercury, you're getting an additional 35 power. It really worked out, but then not even 30 seconds later, Lawbster, without purification beads, gets picked off, so SK Gaming can't get any further objectives.
That was one of the tougher spots for me, but Faeles did fine in the jungle. I enjoyed that, but it was his direct opposition that takes home the most valuable player trophy. QvoFred on the Party Monkey. This guy coming through and just looking fantastic. Fear No Evils were on point.
Man, these mid laners are not getting any love because Zyrhoes went 6-0-12, and he didn't get MVP. That's mind-boggling. And speaking of these mid laners, unfortunately for Lawbster, playing the Discordia didn't have the necessary peel to have an effective game. Guan Yu was first picked, but Dignitas made that Guan Yu first pick look very silly. And then Cerberus for HalfDevil started off good. He got the first blood. He got a second kill, which allowed him to get a huge goal swing over Trixtank, so he got the Sovereignty and Stone of Binding while Trixtank was still trying to stack up the Gauntlet of Thebes, which is what allowed certain Gold Furies to transition in the early phases. But if there's no momentum for your mid laner, then the team is going to ultimately collapse.
Here's the last little tidbit before we move on to game number 2. At 25 minutes, this was a tie game, and SK was even pulling ahead. At 27 minutes, Dignitas was 10,000 gold in the lead, and at 29 minutes, the game was over. That's how quickly everything goes.
It's the Giannis, I'm telling you. The Giannis repositioning. It was so difficult for Lawbster to do anything in these team fights. He timed his Golden Apple of Discordia to immune QvoFred's ultimate several times, but it still wasn't enough. I think that SK Gaming, against aggressive Dignitas, they need a defensive peeler. Kumbhakarna, maybe a Geb, anything